All right, we have to now contend with a new normal in American politics, which is that the worse things seemingly get for Donald Trump, the better his polling. We are now starting to see the trickle-down effect trickling through from people who are bailing on the Republican primary, Mike Pence and others, down to Donald Trump. Pence is gone, others are gone, and Trump keeps climbing. Look at these numbers. That purple line at the top of your screen, that is Trump. Donald Trump today is polling better in this Republican primary than at any time during this primary. And by the way, this is still with 2% going to Tim Scott. Tim Scott is gone. He's dropped out. He's still showing up in the polls. It takes a while for people to be removed from the polls completely. Trump is at 61.6, call it 62%. We have a situation right now where Trump is beyond 60 for the first time in this campaign. Trump has never had more criminal charges against him than he does today. And Trump has never polled as well in the Republican primary as he polls today. Now, is this representative of a deep respect for Trump's ideology from Republican voters? From some, but certainly not from all. Part of this is the growing realization among Republican voters that a lot of the 1%ers who came and went with barely a whimper, none of them have what it takes to actually win this primary. And potentially they don't have what it takes to defeat Joe Biden either. Hutchinson, 0.5%. Burgum, 0.6%. Chris Christie with 2.3%. Vivek Ramaswamy was meant to be the surging superstar. He got to 8%. Now he's back down below 5%. Nikki Haley, maybe the one person with some kind of path here, is polling 10%, much better than she was, but still no credible path anywhere other than maybe into second or third place somewhere. And part of this is the realization among Republican voters, we got to rally around someone. It seems only Trump is the one capable of winning this thing. I guess I support Trump. I don't know. Some of them enthusiastically, some of them not so enthusiastically. Now, I do think it's also important to take a look at what's happening in the early state polling. We are only, is it 50 or 49 days away from the first Republican primary votes? We should look a little bit at what's going on there. We have data from the Iowa caucus where Trump is winning easily with 47, DeSantis 17, Haley 14. If you have a hope that someone other than Trump may make a move in Iowa, maybe DeSantis or Haley, but Trump has both of them doubled up. We then go to New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, you could maybe make the case that Nikki Haley has some shot at overperforming. Right now, the numbers in New Hampshire are Trump 45, Nikki Haley 18. If she can pull 5 more points from Trump and Trump ends up at 40 and she ends up at 23, you're at least not embarrassed out of this race. And Nikki Haley can say, well, I did well enough to stay in. Let's keep going. That would get us to South Carolina. South Carolina is indeed Nikki Haley's home state. So again, thinking as optimistically as possible, if Nikki Haley overperforms in New Hampshire, maybe by the time the South Carolina primary comes about, she'll have gained 5 points, which puts her at 23. And then maybe based on the results of New Hampshire, she will again overperform that and maybe could get 28. And if Trump ends up at 39 and she ends up at 28, she's still losing, but I guess she can sort of justify staying in. And then we get further away. We get to Nevada. We don't have recent polling from Nevada. Haley was only at 6 at the last poll, but that was almost 2 months ago. So I'm laying out a mere hypothetical. These are edge cases. These are if X, Y, and Z all happen perfectly for Nikki Haley and things change. The reality is Trump is absolutely blowing these people out of the water. And we may have a different scenario. I'm talking about what's the best case for Nikki Haley. We could have a situation where Trump keeps climbing and next Wednesday, December 6th. I forget what day of the week it is. Next week, there's another Republican debate, which certainly Trump won't go to as far as we know today. And if, again, all of the candidates left just lose because they're all terrible, Trump may gain another 5 points. Trump could be polling 70% before a single vote is cast. Is it a Republican Party determined to destroy itself, as they have continued to do under MAGA Trumpism in 2018 and 2020 and 2022 and 2023? Is it a Republican Party that doesn't know what to do anymore because they can't seem to get away from Trump? And so they're saying, if you can't beat him, join him. It's better than Biden. I don't know what Republicans are thinking right now, but every sign points to domination by the guy charged with 91 felonies. I want to tell you about an awesome free weekly 5-minute video series on the economy. It's called Tychos, featuring Richard Vague. The Tychos video series is sponsoring our show today. Richard Vague is an economic expert, former Secretary of Banking and Securities for Pennsylvania. I've always thought that Vague was a great voice on macroeconomics, the U.S. economy, government, individual debt, income inequality. Every week, Richard Vague covers economic topics to keep you up to date with the key economic issues of our time: U.S. debt, forecasts for the U.S. economy, economic challenges facing Europe and China, innovative policy ideas. Richard's the author of the economic bestsellers A Brief History of Doom, The Case for a Debt Jubilee, and his latest book, which I've talked about before, The Paradox of Debt. Really fascinating book about how government deficit spending in the U.S. during the pandemic mostly benefited the top 10%. Richard Vague is excellent at taking really complicated economic issues, making them accessible to anyone. He does a really great job of this with his 5-minute video series. It's called Tychos, which you can subscribe to for free at tychosgroup.org/join. The link is down below.